of their sort of being around. Okay, in terms of this, again, this critical time that we're in, can you describe this time? Like, what do you see something happening in these times? I mean, obviously we have critical things in terms of, you know, the world politics and economics and things of this nature. But when you talk about critical, I'm actually seeing something to do with space. Are you talking about, for example, you've heard of, you know, incoming planet, like the second sun? I don't know if you believe this is a binary solar system. Do you follow that theory at all?
Well, I guess the most critical thing I can see is that a lot of ice is leaving Antarctica.
Yes.
And that indeed will raise the sea level.
Okay.
And that indeed will cause some problems in many places. And it'll have a negative impact on real estate if you own property.
Water, yeah, oceanfront property.
That, to me, seems like a no-brainer.
Have you talked to some remote viewers?
No.
No?
No.
Other than the story you said about the woman who looked down on the rings.
You know, that's interesting that somebody has that capability.
Right.
But it's not something that's acceptable scientifically.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, the craft, again, the vehicles in the rings, you don't think they're mining, but you think they're using the energy to power themselves, in essence.
Well, when you say power themselves,
power the
grow
entity, the vehicle.
The objects that I saw were very small inside the ring. They were connected to the inside ring. And it just seemed to me like, well, hey, these are babies, you know. And that's how I came up with the idea that they're nursing from the ring. You know, they're getting life, strength, and whatever you want to call it. But I think that that's how they are growing, is using the rings. Now, in terms of mining, think about that level of thought. Mining is something that we do here on Earth. You don't have to be very bright to do mining.
Okay.
How do I know? Because I have worked in a mine.
Okay.
And so we're dealing with lots of smarts. And I don't think this is too low for them. Mining is too low.
All right.
So on two counts, I think what we got there is a life form.
Absolutely. Do you believe that we're communicating with them? Have you had any evidence of that?
Oh, no. No, we are not capable of doing that. You know, SETI has tried to communicate with extraterrestrials, and they haven't done it yet. They have chosen the type of person, the type of entity that they want to communicate with is somebody that knows how to build radio.
Primitive.
Right.
That constrains them in their thinking immensely.
Right.
Okay.
Well, okay, but of course we're Project Camelot, and we talk to people like Richard Hoagland and so on and so forth, and I don't know if you've heard of Zecharia Sitchin.
Yeah.
And his theories. He passed on recently.
Sure.
Did you know him by the
I met him.
You met him?
Yeah.
Did you ever talk about your theories with him? Or your conclusions?
No, we didn't have that much time. It was more interesting listening to what he came up with. But there's a case where he's got some real solid stuff, but nobody wants to pay attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know?
Right. Richard Hoagland just recently said to me that he thinks he's seen cities
That
in
what?
those rings. Cities.
Cities.
He's seeing cities in the rings of Saturn.
It's correct.
Well, Richard has seen cities in lots of other places.
Right.
Structures. That's the
I would not
correct
call
word.
them cities myself.
Okay.
Now, I don't know specifically what he is talking about. I mean, you know, if you want me to be specific, I'd have to look.
Right.
But he's thinking again of something like San Francisco, or, you know, you look down on it and there's a city, you know, laid out.
Well, I'm not sure how he's characterized, you know, we didn't have a chance to talk about how he's characterizing this idea of a city. In other words, it could be constructive, some sort of plasma,
Yeah,
or...
he had put that label on, and what I do think he's seeing is organized structure of some sort.
Organized structures, yes.
I mean, there's lines going this way, and then there's perpendiculars, say, and...
So in a sense, you would agree with him in that.
yeah, I mean,
There's
I kind of think
organized
that
structures.
There can
in
be
the
straight
rings.
lines out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and almost any formation can be made that is desired. So, if he sees a checkerboard kind of thing, and that's a city, it's not a city, but
The structures.
it is a checkerboard, that kind of thing.
There they are.
When you talk about plasma, what are you talking about? Are you talking about the same thing that Wilhelm Reich would be talking about when he talks about orgone? Or is plasma like another stage of orgone? Or
About him, but there is one flight out to Saturn where the instrument flew by the ring. And the idea was to sense the plasma in there. It had a wide frequency range, and it turned out to be plasma. And so it took, and they knew the speed, and they knew the time it took to pass the ring, and so they knew how thick it was. And now that was a plasma indicator.
okay.
So it has been measured that indeed there is plasma rings. But you read also where, oh, this is a bunch of broken up moons that got there, and there's confusion in their storytelling.
But the rings that are suddenly appearing around Uranus, these are not broken up moons.
Uranus.
Right.
You know, all I can say is, you know, the rings were there, and my interpretation is, by inference, I see the rings, so somewhere there's a me and me. And they're never where you think they're going to be.
Do you, have you thought about the idea that, I guess I talked to Sean David Morton, who met you years ago. I don't know if you remember Sean? Sean David Morton. He's a sort of a psychic, and he lives in Southern California. Anyway, he's a friend of mine. And he said that recently they've actually photographed, I guess, the top of Saturn, and they've seen that there's a hexagonal
Yes.
shape.
Yes.
You've heard of that?
Yes.
That seems to support your theory or your conclusions. That's what he said. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, any geometric form can be made.
Okay. But you don't see anything, I mean, isn't there a significance to the hexagon in the Saturn symbology?
Well, I would never expect a hexagon there, but I had never expected to see some of the other things I've seen either, so I did want to visit Saturn in the write-up I did, because there are some things that need to be fleshed out for people.
Okay.
And if I haven't lost it on my discs, why, I'll be able to make a nice little story about all that.
Okay. If you haven't lost it, in other words, if it wasn't stolen,
Yeah, or boogered up.
erased, and messed with. Okay, well, I'm running out of tape here again, right? And I guess we've been going for quite some time, so I don't want to tire you out too much. But is there anything that we haven't covered that you'd like to say to make it part of this this presentation here?
They could ask me to be vice president.
Because you'd like to change the policy and what's going on.
Yeah.
And you've had clearances above, with the, you know, above, way above top secret. So in a sense, they should be coming to you for advice, I would say.
They should.
Yeah. Well, let's recommend that. Let's recommend that they come to Norm BERGRUN and
One guy
in this critical
not too long ago was bitching about the candidates, and I said, Jack, you can just write my name in, can't you? He said, yeah, hey, that's a good idea.
Did you know, I just want to know, did you know Arthur C. Clarke?
No. You know, I didn't go that route. You know, I have been always so much up to here, you know, sort of career-wise.
Right.
You know, what I've been
Inventor
involved
of the
Yes.
communication satellite.
in. I haven't been the social guy I should have been. Hopefully, that's going to change.
Okay. I'd like to see that.
I'm a type that is pretty flexible.
Uh-huh.
And
Well, certainly you must be if you've done all the things you talked about, and you also are able to, you've obviously worked in areas of policy as well.
yeah, well, see, that came about by the prof at Cornell called me in one time and said, how would you like to grade papers, law papers? And I said, oh, that sounds good to me. And I said, but what we do when I grade mine, when it comes to mine, he says, you grade it just exactly like you grade the others, but give it to me afterwards. But he told me that as an engineer, you really ought to get law under your belt, because you know the nomenclature, and these are the guys that are running the country, basically. Mm-hmm. And they really don't know about some things that they should, but they just do it. And so over a period of 10 years, I got a law degree.
Oh, you did? Wow, that's incredible.
And
In 1 year, he got a law
You
degree.
got a law degree.
I
Damn.
found it just exactly like the prof said, yeah. And that's what
That is
made it
brain
so
power,
easy
bro.
to go in.
To go
Otherwise,
into
I wouldn't have done
policy.
it.
I see. Okay, Norm BERGRUN, I believe that there's more that you could be telling us, but I understand that you still have some secrecy or oaths. Is that correct? You're kind of abiding by those?
For his own sake.
I could tell you a lot of war stories, the answer. You know, I could tell you a lot of stuff that's sort of related to all this, but give me some more time, and I'm set myself up so I don't have to make my own bed, I don't have to cook some meals, you know, and all this. And TV will be taken care of for me. Just a lot of things will go to zero.
I see.
And so Norm is going to have some more time to do some things to get it together.
If you're still
Okay,
alive,
but
bro.
are the people that are making this possible going to let you go out and talk about it?
Yes.